In 1901, Greek sponge divers were caught in a storm near the tiny island of Antikythera. A diver dropped 60 meters to the seafloor and came back screaming about dead bodies scattered across the sand. His captain went down and found not a graveyard, but the wreck of a Roman cargo ship that sank around 100 BCE. The dead bodies were marble statues buried under 2,000 years of silt. Hidden among those statues was a lump of corroded bronze no bigger than a shoebox. It sat in a crate at the National Museum in Athens for 2 years before someone noticed a crack in the surface. Inside that crack, a gear tooth gleamed. 37 interlocking bronze gears, the largest one 13 centimeters across with 223 teeth. This device, now called the Antikythera Mechanism, calculated the positions of the Sun, the Moon, and 5 planets. It predicted solar and lunar eclipses. It even tracked the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games. The Moon speeds up and slows down along its elliptical path, and this machine accounted for that using 2 gears mounted on offset axes, a differential system. The same principle that lets the wheels of your car spin at different speeds when you turn a corner. European science did not match this level of astronomical calculation for another 1,500 years. Whoever built this device understood the cosmos at a level the rest of humanity would not reach for 20 centuries. And here is what unsettles researchers the most. The Roman orator Cicero, writing in the 1st century BCE, described a similar machine built by Archimedes in Syracuse. That means the Antikythera mechanism was not a one-off miracle. It belonged to an entire tradition of precision engineering, and only this single example survived the collapse of the ancient world. Now travel 8,000 kilometers south to a desert so dry that rain sometimes skips it for years. Across over 400 square kilometers of plateau in southern Peru, ancient hands scraped away dark surface rock to reveal pale ground underneath. The shapes they created are enormous. Hummingbirds, monkeys, whales, spiders, lines stretching hundreds of meters. And none of them make sense from the ground. You have to be in the sky to see what they really are. The Nazca Lines were created between roughly 200 BCE and 650 CE by the Nazca culture. The first scientific study happened in 1927, but even after a century of research, nobody can say with certainty why people who had no aircraft would carve pictures only visible from above. In September of 2024, a team from Yamagata University in Japan, working with IBM, used artificial intelligence and drone imagery to scan the plateau. In just 6 months, they discovered 303 new geoglyphs, nearly doubling the number of known figurative shapes from about 430. Some of the newly found figures are small, just 3 to 7 meters across, scratched near ancient walking trails. Others are massive and clearly meant for something bigger than human eyes. Some depict disturbing scenes, humans gripping decapitated heads, killer whales wielding weapons. As of now, the AI flagged 968 additional candidates, still waiting for confirmation. The debate over purpose remains wide open. Astronomical maps, ceremonial pathways, messages to gods, social markers between groups. Nobody agrees, and the most basic question still has no answer. Who was the audience for art that only the sky could see? 1836. Workers digging near the ruins of ancient Ctesiphon outside Baghdad uncover a burial chamber. Inside, alongside the remains, sits a clay jar 14 centimeters tall. Inside the jar, a copper cylinder. Inside the cylinder, an iron rod. Suspended without touching the walls, sealed at the top with a plug of bitumen. Wilhelm Koenig, then director of the National Museum of Iraq, recognized the structure immediately. 2 metals with different electrochemical potential, separated by space for a liquid. A battery. Corrosion marks on the copper suggested contact with an acid, likely vinegar or grape juice. The artifact dates to the Parthian period, roughly 150 BCE to 223 CE. Replicas built with the same materials and filled with vinegar produced about 1 to 2 volts of electricity. In 1978, German researcher Arne Eggebrecht used replicas to electroplate a thin layer of silver, just 100 nanometers thick, onto small bronze objects. The results were real and measurable. But here is where the mainstream view pushes back hard. Professor Elizabeth Stone of Stony Brook University has stated plainly that she does not know a single archaeologist who believes it was actually a battery. No electroplated artifacts have ever been found in the region. No ancient text mentions the process. Similar vessels discovered nearby appear to have been used as storage containers for sacred scrolls, found alongside objects linked to ritual and magic. The battery theory captures the imagination, but has thin archaeological support, and we may never settle the debate, because in 2003, during the invasion of Iraq, the Baghdad Battery disappeared from the museum. Its location remains unknown. The most controversial electrical device in archaeology is simply gone. Now fly south again, this time to the Bolivian highlands near Lake Titicaca, 13,000 feet above sea level. Pumapunku is a field of shattered stone blocks that look like they were cut by machines. Shaped stones interlock with a precision that leaves no gap for a razor blade. The surfaces are flat. The angles are sharp. The cuts repeat with identical measurements across multiple blocks, as if stamped from a mold. The stone is andesite and diorite, among the hardest materials on Earth, and the nearest quarry sits kilometers away across rough terrain. The Tiwanaku civilization built this site sometime between roughly 400 and 800 CE. They had no iron tools. They had no wheels. They had no written language that survived. And yet the stonework at Pumapunku suggests a level of standardization and engineering that engineers today struggle to explain without power tools. Mainstream archaeology attributes the work to patient labor, with stone hammers and bronze chisels. But the tolerances visible in the interlocking blocks challenge that explanation. This is not rough carving. This is modular construction, each piece designed to fit with others like parts of a massive stone puzzle. From Bolivia, cross the Atlantic to a vault at Yale University's Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library. Inside sits a small book, 240 pages of handwritten text in an alphabet nobody has ever seen before. Beside the text, detailed illustrations of plants that do not match any known species, diagrams of astronomical systems, drawings of naked women bathing in interconnected green pools. This is the Voynich manuscript, named after the book dealer Wilfrid Voynich, who purchased it in 1912. Radiocarbon dating places the parchment between 1404 and 1438. For over a century, code breakers from military intelligence agencies, university linguists, and amateur cryptographers have tried to crack it. None have succeeded. Statistical analysis shows the text follows patterns consistent with natural language. It is not random gibberish. The characters repeat at frequencies that resemble real speech, but no one can identify the language, the cipher, or the meaning. Every few years, someone claims to have decoded it. Every claim falls apart under peer review. The book remains locked. Return to Peru, this time to the outskirts of the ancient Inca capital of Cusco. A fortress called Sacsayhuaman sits on a hillside above the city, built from limestone and andesite blocks so enormous that the largest weighs an estimated 128 tons. The stones are cut into irregular, jigsaw-like shapes with as many as 12 angles on a single face. Despite this complexity, they fit together without mortar so tightly that you cannot slide a sheet of paper between them. After 500 years of earthquakes, the walls still stand while Spanish colonial buildings around them have crumbled repeatedly. Spanish chroniclers who saw the fortress shortly after the conquest wrote that even the devil could not have built it. Modern engineers have studied the walls and confirmed that moving and placing stones of this size and shape at this altitude, 3,700 meters above sea level, would challenge the most powerful cranes available today. The Inca had no iron, no steel, no wheels, and no draft animals large enough for the task. The standard explanation involves ramps, levers, and vast organized labor. But explaining how they achieved the perfect curved interfaces between irregularly shaped stones, each one custom fit to its neighbor, remains an open problem. The last mystery lies behind bulletproof glass in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy. A linen cloth measuring 4.4 meters long and 1.1 meters wide bears the faint image of a man who appears to have been crucified. The image is a photographic negative, a detail nobody noticed until 1898, when amateur photographer Secondo Pia took the first photographs and discovered that inverting the tones revealed a detailed, anatomically accurate face and body. In 1988, radiocarbon dating by 3 independent laboratories at Oxford, Zurich, and the University of Arizona dated the cloth to between 1260 and 1390 CE, suggesting a medieval origin. But the debate did not end. Critics pointed out that the sampled corner may have been contaminated by a medieval repair patch. The image itself resides only on the topmost fibers of the linen, penetrating no more than 200 nanometers deep. No paint, no dye, no pigment has been found. In 2011, scientists at Italy's National Agency for New Technologies, known as ENIA, attempted to replicate the coloring using ultraviolet lasers and concluded that reproducing the effect would require a burst of vacuum ultraviolet radiation that no known technology, ancient or modern, can produce over such a large surface area. Pollen grains found on the cloth match species native to the area around Jerusalem. Bloodstains test positive for human blood, type AB, and the 3-dimensional information encoded in the image, which no painting or photograph can produce, was confirmed using a VP8 image analyzer originally designed by NASA. Whatever left that image on the cloth did so by a process that science has documented but cannot replicate, cannot explain, and cannot classify. 7 objects. 7 open questions that cut across continents and millennia. A bronze computer pulled from the sea. Desert drawings made for an audience that could not exist. A clay jar that may have held lightning. Stones carved beyond the limits of their age. A book that speaks a language no one alive can hear. Walls that mock gravity itself. And a cloth that carries the shadow of something we cannot name. These mysteries have one thing in common. They were never meant to be found.